Now listen to what I tell you right now. Francis Ngannou is imminent to sign with PFL, according to the brass at PFL. The brass, meaning the director of operations, or head of operations in Europe, someone you've definitely heard of. You've seen him fight in the UFC. He used to have a mohawk. He's a British fellow, a guy who I think does some of the best breakdowns of anybody in the game, son. His name is Dan Hardy. So Dan Hardy said that they are imminently going to sign Francis Ngannou, and that should happen in no time. That's what he said. He said they're going to sign Francis in no time. So I heard that, and I thought about it, and I was like, all right, so I'm just like, Francis had already alluded to that also. So I got to really think about this for a second. And how does this make you feel? Like, how does this make me feel? How do I feel about this? And we're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to talk about what this would mean for the UFC and Francis and boxing, etc. Because there is a group of people where if this happens, they are going to be clinking champagne in a way where you'd have a hard time exaggerating how stoked they were if this ended up being the outcome. And candidly, that might end up being everyone. Okay, like there is a possibility where the PFL signature, the signing with PFL ends up being the best thing for everyone. Well, there might be like we'll get into it. This is a really complicated situation because the UFC, that's who I was alluding to. If Francis signs with the PFL, the UFC is going to be so happy. But there is a way where if he signs with PFL, it leads to the worst outcome for the UFC. And that doesn't have to do with the PFL specifically. It has to do with, we all know what the worst case scenario for them is. And if you don't, you're going to find out again right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. That's all we're doing. Look, dude, I'm not even going to do any preambles. I just want to talk about this situation. So if you guys appreciate the content, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, tell me what you guys think. Cause we're going deep on this topic right now. I'm going to give you guys we're going to go hard and heavy because this is a really, really big deal if that happens. So yeah, anyway, so bottom line is this. If Francis signs with PFL, the initial reaction from the UFC will be that of absolute and total elation, okay? Like elation. They will be so happy because at the end of the day, of course they want Francis in the UFC and they would love to be able to put on fights with Francis. But the much bigger thing that they want is they do not want Francis to fight in a huge boxing match where they get a huge, huge payout. That is the most important thing for them. And the PFL signature becomes a thing where Francis's value is what? It's that he's the UFC champion. And so, like I've been saying from the get-go, that every day that he has not signed a boxing fight, his value is going down. And it's scary to watch because honestly, this guy's gone through way too much to end up getting frozen out and not get paid. Okay? And so you got this Usyk and Fury thing. Now, Usyk and Fury fight kind of falling apart. That's a great thing for Francis. That is a fantastic thing for Francis because maybe it falls apart and it lands right on Francis. The Tyson Fury and Francis end up doing their fight and everybody has to eat their words. And Francis is like, hey, even you, Jesse on Fire, you even said that I can't do this without a team. Look at what I did. Good for him. But let's assume that that's not right around the corner for the conversation we're having now. Let's assume that it is how it appears, which is that there's nothing really solid in the works, and so Francis is basically out in the cold. The UFC's like, no, we're good. Thanks a lot, Francis. Thanks for trying, but you're never coming back to the UFC. And Francis is looking around like, all right, well, there's no boxing fights. Like I don't, there's nothing to, so I'm going to sign with the PFL. Okay. So that would appear to be the absolute best case scenario for the UFC because the PFL champion isn't worth anything on the boxing scene, at least initially, right? The champion of PFL trying to go out and get a fight in boxing that would never happen. Now, the fact that it's Francis, of course, changes things. And so, again, I want to just start with the UFC. If he signs with PFL, the UFC will think that they've won. They will be like, victory, we're done. That's it. We win. We won. Francis lost. He can go rot away in PFL. No one cares about PFL. There are no fighters in PFL. There's no one for him to fight. They're not making any money. We offered him $8 million a fight or whatever. There's no possible way he can make even anywhere remotely near that money. So he lost. We won. We've got John Jones as the champion. The end. Fight over. Fight over. Now, here is the way that could change. Okay? And also, you know what? Before I even get into that, I want to say this. As a fan, and I realize there's no, it's unrealistic for me to be like, Francis, Just as a fan, I am a huge fan of yours. I'm a huge fan of yours. I have your action figure, dude. I have your action figure. I don't have any other fighters' action figures, just yours. I'm a massive fan. The idea that we really won't get to see you fight Jon Jones is soul crushing. It really is, dude. As a fan, that hurts, man. As much as I'm on here and I love like doing videos shitting on Bloody Elbow or any other thing, like I am a genuine, deeply passionate fan for this sport. And the idea that Francis is going to PFL, like, dude, like you can be a fan, you can be an analyst, you can be a person who likes to think that they're involved in all this stuff. We're not. I mean, some of us like, you know, but like we're not really. It's Francis's journey. And even if you know these guys, give them some advice, you're not really involved. But as a fan, we are absolutely involved because being a fan is about spectating. And as a fan, I don't care what there's no way you can be stoked on this. Who do you want to see him fight in PFL? Forget about the money. Forget about any of that stuff. Who do you want to see him fight in PFL? No one is the answer. There's no one there. So it's, for the fans, it's terrible. Like, not good. It's a nightmare. Him going to PFL is a nightmare. And I don't mean, like, look, Dan Hardy, I'm sure, is working hard on signing him, and I don't mean to rain on his parade because I really genuinely don't. I'm just talking about objectively as a fan. I want to see him fight. I want to see him fight Jon Jones. I want to see him fight Pavlovic. I want to see him fight against, what's his name, that's coming back from the knee injury in England. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see him, well, I guess he's already starched Curtis Blades 2 times, actually. You know? So it's like, it just sucks, man. And it seems like the UFC really is going to freeze him out and we're not going to get to see this. So it sucks. If he signs the PFL, I will be not just disappointed, I will be crushed. Okay? Crushed. But that said, here's how this could turn around for Francis, though. All right? And for the PFL. So in order for Francis to sign with the PFL, they're going to be agreeing to let him box for sure. Because that's what he wants. He wants to box. He wants to make that money boxing, and then he wants to come back. Now, but like I said, the champion of the PFL is not an interesting draw as it relates to boxing, right? Unless, here's how this could, because Francis is slowly becoming irrelevant right now. And that's just an objective fact. Here is how that will change. So if he can't get a boxing match right now, he signs with PFL, and he signs with PFL under the understanding that he gets a fight fast. He needs a fight fast, and it's going to be. It doesn't really matter who it's against because there's no one in PFL who can hang with him. And so when he fights for PFL, everyone's going to watch it. Bet your life on that. Everyone's going to watch it, and I'm including the boxing guys, everyone in UFC, all the fans. Everyone's going to watch it, and people have a very poor ability to decipher who is this person that he's fighting, right? They see a person starch a guy, they think, wow, that guy's the best on earth. Think about Greg Hardy on his way up. You know what I mean? Think about, well, there's a million examples. So they turn around to fight with Francis fast. They put him in there with someone, and he goes in there and he decapitates a guy, right? Like he has done many times. People have the weirdest view of Francis Ngannou. It's unbelievable. I feel like I always have to do this is just remind you guys. People, it's like, because Francis was not on everyone's radar. He wasn't on everybody's radar until he fought Stipe the first time. And what's crazy about that is like, I mean, if you're a hardcore, he was on your radar because he was annihilating everyone, dude. Right? So I just want to go through this really quick. Okay. So his first fight in UFC is a knockout in the second round. The next fight is Curtis Blades. He knocks him out. Then he goes on this streak. His next fight is against Bohan Milovic. He knocks him out in 1:30. Next one is against Anthony Hamilton. Kimura submission in 2 minutes. Next one, Andrei Arlovsky, 90-second knockout. Next one, Overeem, 1:42, decapitation knockout. Okay? And that's when we get to Stipe, where everyone's like, this guy's never going to lose, man. Like, this guy, no one can even last a fucking round with this guy. And then he gets wrestle-fucked by Stipe. Okay? Then you have that weird Derek Lewis fight, and everyone writes him off. Okay? Everyone writes him off. Oh, Francis, that's that guy that was all the hype and blah, blah, because Dana, you know, like, he was just whatever. Everyone wrote him off. And they're like, here's Curtis Blades. Dana trying to bury him, right? Another wrestler. knocks him out in 45 seconds. Okay, this is the streak I need you guys to listen to. Okay, this is Francis. This is the streak that he went on. Knocks out Curtis Blades, 45 seconds. Knocks out Cain Velasquez, 26 seconds. Knocks out Junior Dos Santos in 1 minute and 11 seconds. Knocks out Rosenstreich in 20 seconds. And then knocks out Stipe at 50 seconds of the second round, starched. And then he fought Cyril Gahn with a torn MCL. Like, this is no fucking game. This guy is a human killing machine wrecking ball. He's a fucking murder machine. So you put him in there with a PFL guy, they're not going to last 10 seconds with him. He's going to decapitate them. Bet your fucking life on it. Bet every dollar that you have. First round finish, Francis. And if that happens, and he does knock him out, that changes things where all of a sudden maybe a Deontay Wilder fight does make sense. All of a sudden promoters are starting to hit him up and maybe he gets a boxing fight out of it. But as of right this moment, if he doesn't have something in the works, this might be the only option that he has. He needs to get into PFL, turn it around fast, knock someone's fucking head into the 15th row, and then get interest again, and then get one of these guys to book you to a boxing match and prove everyone wrong. Because everyone right now is like, he fucked up. He fucked off the rest of his career. Now, Francis has gone on his own his entire career, and he has always ended up winning. So if you're betting against him, you're crazy. Just based on the historical record. I do believe that he is going to end up winning here, and that's just because he always has. I think he's going to get a big boxing fight. I really do. I can't see it right now. I can't see exactly how this plays out, but I think he's going to because he believes it. And he has come through on things that were much longer odds. But man, when he signs with PFL, just the initial shock of that where I'm like, he's really not going to be with UFC is terrible. It's soul crushing, man. So that's my reaction to that. Anyway, subscribe to the channel. Love you guys. Peace.